I'm excited to be building and innovating a world that's feels good for more people to live in. So I think that's what really first made me go yeah, okay, let's see what this is. And then from there, I've just been connecting, with a lot of really interesting people.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of NewForum. We are always excited to bring you inspiring and brilliant guests on our podcast. NewForum is a community podcast inviting visionaries, creators, and investors to spark accessible conversations on the topics of crypto, the metaverse, NFTs, and everything Web3. And on today's episode, I'm super excited that we have Mortifee, a vocal artist, ancient futurist, and Web3 advocate. He's also part of the communities such as Friends with Benefits and dropped multiple projects on Zora and music NFTs. I'm super excited to have you on, Clear. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Yeah, so I want to know, how did you got into the Web3 space? First of all, I want to know your journey as an artist, and then what made you, how did you find your way to the Web3 space?
Yeah, well, I was onboarded to the Web3 space by my good friend Pat Locke, who is an incredible producer and DJ. He's also from Vancouver, Canada. We've known each other for a long time and made music together and done shows together. And he started the fellowships program at Friends with Benefits at FWB. And so when they were accepting applications, he said, hey, you should apply. And I did. And I remember filling out the application. It felt like the first time I could really bring all of myself to a project where I wasn't just an artist and I wasn't just, a Reiki master or a creative coach. It was like all of me was welcome to be expressed. And I got into the program, and now I work with FWB on the lifestyle team, and write for the TLDR, the newsletter. And it's a really cool community. I'm really grateful to be involved with them, and also to be meeting so many amazing people and learning about so many epic initiatives through the community.
That's really interesting. You seem like such a diverse person. I feel like you obviously you have your music, and I really love your music. It's really just a soulful kind of, but also really expressive and fun music, I feel like. And you seem very diverse. And I'm wondering, what made you resonate with communities such as Friends with Benefits so much in the Web3 space? What made you be okay, this is really something where I could see myself progressing in or helping, maybe also touch a bit on the idea of DAOs or communities such as Friends with Benefits?
I feel like one of the things that really caught my ear and my heart about Friends with Benefits was Pat sent me an interview that he did with one of the founders, Brud, and in it he was talking about how Will and Grace, the TV show, just by having gay folks in the narrative for the first time in American mainstream culture, shifted the political perspective on same-sex marriage so drastically. And just hearing that he was thinking about culture creation and art creation from a perspective of, world changing and social advancement and social justice and all these things that we want to live in a world with, I was like, oh, okay, these are my people. I can get down with this. And I'm excited to be building and innovating a world that's feels good for more people to live in. So I think that's what really first made me go yeah, okay, let's see what this is. And then from there, I've just been connecting, with a lot of really interesting people, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with that. I feel like the pandemic really, made this shift even more. Where I was always a kid of the internet as well, and I feel like I never felt this is my community. Do I belong there? But I feel like with the Web3 community, you have you can have so many different sides and layers to your artistry or to yourself. You can be involved in a DAO for social change, or you can also drop your music NFTs and, like really express yourself fully as a whole human being. And when it comes to your music, I'm wondering, so what is your process with making music, and maybe also your distribution, like NFT wise? Like, how do you build up a project and then find your release flow and things like that?
Yeah, for me, I've been writing music since I was 14. And my process for writing music at this point in my journey, it's changing. I just moved back to my hometown, Vancouver, Canada. It's nice to be here, but I haven't lived here in like 6 or 7 years. I've been mostly in Los Angeles, Toronto, and most recently Oakland. So kind of finding my flow with the musicians in the space again. I've been producing for myself more. Yeah, usually when I write music, the beat comes first, and then the melody will be something that I hear in my head, and I'll release it, and then I'll kind of fine tune the lyrics.
Here on Earth, I'm surrounded by other people's bandits. That's including my own. Don't think that I couldn't stand it.
Do you always work on your own more on things, or do you pick people or you're like, okay, these are my people that I have to draw in for this and this project? Because I feel like sometimes as an artist, whether you make music or art, you can be so in your own bubble, but then sometimes it's nice to draw in people for more creativity, or for maybe building a bigger project. I don't know, what's your experience with that?
Yeah, I have always worked with other people with releasing stuff. Have I ever worked? So I suppose when I was like 16, 17, I made some of my first demos just on the piano alone. But since then I've been working with other people. So I think that's part of why my workflow is shifting, because I'm in a new space where I'm like, yeah, who am I going to build with? Like, who's a good fit for what I want to do next? But yeah, I feel like having other people's creativity, it just adds so much. Like, collaboration adds so much. And I think that's one of the cool things about the Web3 space as well, is that there is so much collaboration and kind of cross-pollination of ideas. And as you said, like, there's so much space for the diversity that lives within each of us to be expressed and honored and discovered.
I saw like a couple of music DAOs, Noise DAO or Sound XYZ, and they're really, building these Twitter spaces and these flourishing like communities. And from your perspective, like NFTs and blockchain and smart contracts, like what can they enable for creators in the long haul? Like what, because I feel like in the music industry, especially, it's been like how many years that you see artists struggle with their masters, or with their gaining their royalties and things like that. So I'm wondering, like, what do you think can possibly change with this?
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of potential that's being realized already in the music NFT space. I can't speak to it in a huge way. I've so far have only released one music NFT. However, I will say that it was really actually healing to be given more funding from one supporter selling my music NFT for my song Prophecy of the Morning Dew. Yeah, they offered us more compensation for that piece of art than Spotify has in the 3 years and 700,000 odd streams that the song has done. And so I had a chance to chat with my collector, whose name is CY. It was really cool to see his perspective that like supporting musicians with their music NFTs is a way of investing in their career and saying, I believe in you and I want you to make more music so that I can enjoy it. And it almost feels like a grant in a way. We have really awesome like music grants up in Canada, and it kind of felt like that receiving it. So I think that there's a lot of power and potential in the space. I know there's so many artists who are really invested in the music NFT game. It's been cool seeing Mint songs coming up more. I dropped my music NFT on Catalog Works, and I've been doing some curation for other queer musicians through Queer Museum of Digital Art, Queer Moda DAO. So that's been cool. And yeah, it's exciting to see artists being rewarded for what is truly an invaluable resource on this planet. Like, music is so profoundly impactful for our emotional well-being, and for our connectivity with ourselves, with each other, and with spirit. And I feel like it's so long overdue to have artists be receiving compensation for what they're bringing. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's crazy to me too, because it seems like now that AI and all these things are stepping in, these labor jobs become more and more redundant for like humans, and it's like time that creativity gets paid how it's worth. It wasn't really paid, or like the revenue streams were kind of like on off, and also contracts are kind of on off in these industries. And now I'm really vouching for artists to step into their, like power and say, you know what, like I'm a whole creator, this is my NFT, this is my world, and these are the people that support me. And I'm happy that you made that experience so far, and I think there's more possible. Like, it's still in the development, but I hope that in the next 5-10 years could be that it's more and more on that level. And I also heard you've been curating trans and queer spaces in the Web3 space, and I would love to hear a bit about like that and your experience.
Yeah, I'm actually helping throw an event that's going to be with FWB and Serif DAO, which is kind of like, I don't know if y'all know the Soho House, but it's basically an IRL series of spaces for artists and creatives in a bunch of major cities. And yeah, so Serif will be like a gathering place for LGBTQ plus folks. And yeah, so I'm excited to get to chat with Serif and also just connect with more of the queer FWB members and yeah, catch some vibes and all that.
Love it. Yeah. I gotta say, I just came back from Visa, and I absolutely love the community there as well. And it's like,
Oh,
it's
nice.
really nice to see people, empowered and just like, free and doing what they think is like expressing themselves. I just love seeing it, and I'm totally here for it. And also I want to know, like, how do you, with the Web3 space, how do you keep your boundaries in check? Like, how do you, it's a lot, we're doing everything digital, we're working and connecting with people. How do you keep your boundaries in check?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. I listen to my body. I listen to my body. That is how I keep my boundaries in check. I spend a lot of time in the forest and by the ocean. That's one of the graces of living here on Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish land where I'm at. It's so full of greenery and nature. So that's very calming for me, and it helps me to regulate my nervous system. And I do a lot of meditation and just spend a lot of time listening. I think at this point in my journey, I'm literally stepping back, saying no to more things, and really listening to what wants to be born through me rather than acting impulsively or out of nervousness or anxiety. More and more, when I notice some of those more difficult emotions come up, I take a step back and I just allow them to be seen and held, so that they're not kind of like suffering alone in the darkness in some corner of my body. It's like, no, like, what do you have to say? How are you doing? What do you need? And I find that from there, the moves I'm making are a lot more intuitive and consistent and aligned with what's actually best and most authentic for me.
You talk about like starseed spirituality and Web3, and I want to know, like, what do you mean with that? Could you explain it to our community a bit?
Yeah, most definitely. So I'll preface with, I was in this beautiful psilocybin ceremony down in Texas in, I guess it was 2021, early 2021. And I saw myself signing a contract with the Galactic Confederation of Light. And I was like, cool, what's that? Didn't know what it was. And I looked it up, and it's a community of benevolent beings from other star systems. And since then, I've been connecting a lot with Pleiadians and Arcturians and, benevolent ETs from other places who are supporting me in gaining clarity about my path and bringing more love into my heart, teaching me how to love myself more, and also bringing technologies of the heart down to the planet right now. I know that there's a lot of conversation about manifestation, which is so cool, and definitely something I'm also passionate about. And I see the intersection of, these technologies of the heart and metaphysics as being a gateway for us to bring forward an experience on the planet that is going to be pleasant for more people, and where more species are going to survive and more diversity is going to be able to be truly celebrated for all the magic and majesty that it brings.
I totally feel that on a deeper level, because I feel like we've been living in like a really, rat race kind of world. Like the last, I don't know, like 50 years, maybe we have been in this constant cycle, and you can see that like it's kind of like changing. Like my generation, our generation is kind of like, okay, like what is what is happening? Like we care more about the planet, we care more about our environment, and about like what we really want to do with our life and what we want to spend our time doing. And I think that is so interesting that these technologies can be like is it like a gateway, like do we know actually where is kind of like who put this technology here? I'm always asking myself, like when we get these insights, like okay, like where do we get this from? Like is this maybe like faith, or is this like meant to be how it is? And that we also take a step back from these cycles that we've been running in, and really reflect. And it's interesting to witness that, I feel like. And I've been so happy and lucky to connect with different artists, entrepreneurs through this podcast. And I'm really, really just grateful to meet everyone, but hopefully one day also have like a in-person meetup, because I feel like the physical is still something that you cannot replace with Zoom calls.
Yeah, most definitely.
And last but not least, I'm gonna ask you a question about what do you think, like for yourself, like what do you look forward to in the future? Is there any projects or things that you look forward to? And I'm curious to know, what is your opinion on the metaverse? So these two are like my last ones.
I think of the metaverse as like the VR world, as opposed to like blockchain, crypto, Web3. They kind of, some people use them synonymously, but for me, the metaverse to me represents like the VR space. And I honestly haven't spent tons of time in the VR space. That being said, I am excited about the potentials of VR and AR to help integrate some different healing modalities, bringing communities together, community ceremony, even the potential of nature bathing in VR, which I know it's like you're not getting tons of the good juju of actually like being in a forest. But I think that for folks who don't have access to nature as readily, that can be something that can be really beneficial. So I'm definitely curious about, building around some of those pieces in the metaverse. And as for projects that I'm looking forward to, I'm really excited to continue working on this thesis that I'm creating about, bridging computer technology with more metaphysical technologies of the heart and bringing forward a golden age on Earth. Like, what does that tangibly look like from where we are right now? And how can we support ourselves in opening our hearts to ourselves and to each other, and to the potential of the best case scenario for what our survival and thrival looks like on this planet, moving into the future.
So on that note, like what do you see that, like how we could potentially live? Like how do you imagine that? Maybe like you don't have to give the whole like full version, but maybe give some little hints of like your opinion.
I really see so much of it as having to do with our hearts and our ability to choose to focus on love. And I think that is vague in certain respects, because love is such a broad term and we only have one word for it in English. And I see a world without war. I see a world without poverty. And I see humans as evolving into creatures who consistently and collectively make choices that are in line with the love that they have access to naturally in their hearts, that facilitate a world where those circumstances are realized.
I really love that. And maybe also thinking about like, what are the consequences of, like somebody's action somewhere? Like, how can we make sure that there's more alignment around like the value chain of like whether it's the creative value chain or also like logistic value chain, like how does this affect people in other places? How can we make it more efficient for everyone and less harmful? honestly, thank you so much, Claire, for being part of today's forum. I'm also wondering, where can our community find you on your social platforms? And if you have a couple of last words, then we're going to wrap it up.
Thank you so much, Joy, for having me. And thank you, NewForum. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok at Clear Mortifee. And I'm also on YouTube and Spotify under Clear Mortifee. I'm just stoked to be here. Thank you for listening and for taking my words in and for giving me an opportunity to express myself. And yeah, I'm grateful, and I hope you have just a beautiful rest of your day.
Yay. And thank you for everyone who tuned in today's episode. If you guys also want to get more involved with what we are doing, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We are NewForum_NCO and also NewCoin. And we also have a Discord and a private Telegram group. And I'm going to link all the links as well as Claire's links down below. And thank you, Claire. Thank you everyone who tuned in today. And we see you in the next episode of NewForum. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.